So this is a site that we've been to before, and still an incredible site. I've actually come back here. This is my second time returning to this place, and a very amazing cemetery. Now this is the oldest grave in Talbot County, right? The oldest known grave?
This is one of the oldest marked graves
oldest
that I'm
marked
aware
grave,
of
yeah.
in Talbot County. I'm sure there's probably some that are older that are not marked, but this
Right.
this one's one of the oldest marked ones. I think the first video that I did with you was here.
I believe so. There's a Civil War veteran buried there,
There.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Mr. Matthews.
Mr. Matthews. And his headstone was stolen and found beside the Hamilton Cemetery, right?
No, it was dumped in a cemetery over on Highway 36.
Gotcha.
No, excuse me, Highway 41. And the cemetery where it was dumped, the caretaker there took it and put it with the other veteran headstones over there.
Right.
So it belongs up here.
Right. Oh, yeah. And these are all handmade bricks that make up this wall here. These are I think that's a piece of because there were two bricks you showed me that formed the cap here. I don't know if we'll be able to find any today or not, but it used to be a very intricate cemetery. And we'll just take a quick look in there and kind of do a recap on this place before we show you something else on this video. But this is sacred to the memory of Colonel John P. Blackman, who departed this life 31st July 1831 in the 46th year of his age. And over here is his wife. She died in 1833. And then down here is the amazing tombstone with the very long epitaph on it. Dr. Brewster, Samuel H. Brewster, who was born on the 3rd of April, 1812, and departed this life on the 14th day of November, 1835. He sleeps wrapped in the cold vestments of death. He left life's brightening scene for the soft gloom of this earth-walled, grass-covered little room, where sorrow comes not, where he ne'er can know again life's life, devoted to the gloom of death. The bright sun which once illuminated his way now throws its glance on his cold turf alone. And for the life-inspiring air which once he breathed, now only lifts the green grass near his grave. The place which knew him shall know him no more forever. Reader, he has tasted death, as thou must, and shortly too. He is launched on the boundless ocean of eternity. Prepare to meet thy certain doom. Would you say creepy, lonesome, desolate?
That and haunting.
Haunting, yes.
It's very lonely.
It is. And I think is worth taking a closer look at. Today is this adjacent cemetery that is behind the brick-walled one over there. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the burial ground of the enslaved people, right?
That's what I was told. And you can see there's a wall around one family here. The wall is falling down, but then there's other graves all out in this area. Colonel Blackman was a very prosperous man, and he moved to this county when it was before it was created. It was Muskogee County, from the Flint River to the Chattahoochee River. It was one large county, and he was one of the first justices of the peace. And it was his job to help oversee elections. And if you look back into some of the early newspapers of those days, 1828, 29, 30, well, before then, 1827, I believe, there was a big controversy arose over him being late for an election or something, so he wasn't there to help oversee the election. And I don't remember enough about it to tell about it, but I just remember that there was a lot in the newspaper about it, and he had to get a lot of his friends and witnesses to testify how it went, because someone wrote the newspaper an article that was detrimental to his character, and he called him out on it publicly.
Right.
And yeah, that was a big news event back then. We also found out, since we were here last, that Colonel Blackman died by the accidental discharge of his gun when he was cleaning.
That's right.
And he accidentally shot himself.
Yeah.
And died from that. And his wife, I can't remember if she died first or if he died first. I don't remember, but she didn't live much longer after he did.
Yeah, 1833.
And that Dr. Brewster buried there, I think, may have been related to Ms. Blackman. I'm not certain on that, but it seems like he died, and he did have a will, and his will is recorded in the Talbot County Courthouse, and because it was Talbot County by the time he passed away. But and this was Talbot County by the time that Colonel Blackman passed. But when Colonel Blackman moved here, this was all Muskogee County, and the county seat at the time was Waverly Hall, Georgia. That was the county seat for Muskogee. So he had a long ways to travel from here to Waverly Hall and then to Columbus to oversee things. Colonel Blackman's, Dr. Brewster's brother was the executor of his estate. And, it says on that slab that that was put there by an affectionate brother.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about the affection, how deep it ran, because that's a dark epitaph.
Yes, it is.
It's very dark. Kind of makes you wonder how his life ended.
Right.
But there's another home place over there in that cluster of trees. I don't know if we can get to it now or not. That has brick chimneys that match these brick. And then Colonel Blackman's home place is right over here, and the brick in that chimney match these also. Gotcha. But there's two of those bricks that we saw earlier. This originally had, see how those bricks are cut? It had a little coping around the top of it, like that, all the way around. Here's some of the bricks still here. Most of them have fallen, and they're here on the ground. They're probably all here, but that's the way it looked back in the old days.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's amazing that this was put here so long ago, out of nothing but lime and sand, and it's still together.
Right.
And Colonel Blackman also, I found out later in reading about his genealogy, he had lots of children. I think he and Ms. Blackman, they were the parents of like maybe 8 or 10 children. And they all grew into adulthood, and I guess they just moved away from here.
And so on the outside of this cemetery, again, where the enslaved are buried, you can see an indention there. There's a headstone, fieldstone headstone here. And of course, as Dan pointed out earlier, there's this rock wall that's around one family, and the graves just continue all throughout these woods. And this is one that they're actually kind of hard to see, simply because I guess it's been so long that the indentions in the ground have kind of filled in, but they are all buried throughout here. All right, Dan, well, I say we go across the street and look at Colonel Blackman's house.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so we are across the dirt road from where Colonel Blackman and others are buried. And this is Colonel Blackman's house here, or the ruins of Colonel Blackman's house. You can see the daffodils coming up over there.
You see they had a rock wall around here on this terrace.
Oh yeah.
This would have been maybe the front steps going up from the, right, there's two terraces coming up from the road. There's this terrace and then this one. This would have been the front walkway going up to the front of the house. You can actually see the walkway still lined in rocks.
I see that. That's really cool. After all these years, you can still see that.
Yeah.
Now, well, obviously he died 1831, so this is the old house here.
Yeah, he was living here in 1827 when he
Yeah.
was holding office as a justice of the peace.
So this is one of the earliest houses in this county. And when did it stop being lived in?
By the time of the Civil War, I think it was owned by the Matthews family. And this is where Mr. Green Matthews lived. And he served in the Confederate Army, and he lived here until he died. And after that, it was still owned by the Matthews family in Woodland when I was a child, so they may still own it. I'm not sure. There's a lot of descendants of that family around, and they may still own this property. I'm not certain about it, but I do know that it's been undisturbed all these years.
Yeah.
If you look around, timber's been cut everywhere, but they never cut right here where this house was. It's completely undisturbed. These privet hedge bushes have gotten so overgrown that it has formed a canopy that in spring and summer, this is just completely shade here. And I believe there may be wisteria here too.
Oh no. That's terrible.
A canopy of wisteria. Maybe it's muscadine vine. Let's look at these chimneys. If you came up the walkway, here's the piers of the front porch. So the house had a porch out here on the front. And I would imagine because of the age of the house, it was very much like the one that Aaron is working on his YouTube channel. It was probably a log house with maybe a dog trot through the middle, hallway through the middle of it. You can see that there was a chimney on the back, which would have been a kitchen, and one on each end. So there would have been 2 rooms. Doesn't look like it was real big. But I do remember that it had brick fireplaces. I don't see the brick. I wonder if somebody's gotten all the brick out of it. Some of the brick.
Oh yeah.
Some of the brick were made with a curve on the end. I think the base was made out of rock, but as it went up to a certain height, it was brick chimneys on up on the eaves of the house. They have really collapsed since I was here last, but there used to be brick in the hearth. You can see a part of the brick. There's also a very deep well out here somewhere. If I remember correctly, it's out that way. So that would have been a chimney that had fallen on the back of the house. Well, this was another. Well, the end of the house, but that chimney over there was the kitchen.
Yeah, this chimney.
You see how the house, over the years, the yard eroded away from the house there?
Yeah. And this is the kitchen chimney. right here. Someone's set a bottle there, but that's not very old. That's Duraglass.
Someone had the foresight to put warning tape around the well.
Oh, really?
You see it?
I sure do. Huh.
The foresight and the consideration. But that is an ancient cedar tree. Look at that.
It sure is.
It was a forked cedar tree. They both fell at the same time.
So this, well, like I see it too. Someone has tape around this well to make sure that nobody falls in. Yep, that's another, that's not quite as deep as our last one we saw.
Yeah. Here we go.
Here we go.
It's still deep.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it's definitely deep.
I can at least see the bottom of this one.
Yeah.
And there's no one down there. So
That's a good thing.
that is a good thing. I do remember when that well had water in it.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it's been partially filled.
Yeah, it looks like people have been throwing maybe trash and
Yeah, there's something that didn't make it.
deer parts down there. For some reason there's trash around it.
That's a deer.
Pretty sure that's a deer.
Okay.
Not 100% sure. But
That over there.
yeah. I reckon that's a deer. I don't want to know what's in the bag. But. So, Dan, I see more rocks here that look like they were placed there.
Yeah, that does. There was probably a shed of some sort out here around the well, and there's another chimney right there.
Yeah, I saw that too. Let's go take a look at it. And here's actually some stuff.
Another big dead cedar tree.
Yeah.
Fallen. Now this would have been what was considered a real plantation. Colonel Blackman was very prosperous in his day, and he brought his wealth with him here. He sold property on the eastern side of the state when he moved here, and he was able to establish himself here, and he became a politician, and he was involved in helping organize a school. Once Talbot County got started, he helped organize a school and a college in Talbotton, and he was on the board of directors of that. And I think because he died an untimely death, we just don't know much about him because he didn't live beyond the settlement stage here.
Right.
But he lived long enough to establish a very nice farm, and I think it was still in the log cabin stage. If he had lived, this probably would have developed into something much bigger and much finer, and history would have been different. But Colonel Blackman died early on, and all we're left with is just the remnants of whatever he built in those early days of the county.
Right. What do you think this was back here?
This was probably a tenant house. It's too far away from the house to have been anything other than maybe a kitchen. But I think the inventory of his estate that is on record at the courthouse indicates that he had a lot of enslaved people and that lived here on the place, and he also had a lot of plantation items like farm equipment and supplies, and just from what I understand, buildings and buildings full of seed and hams and, you know, foodstuffs and things for the general operation of a farm in those days.
Right.
So there was probably little outbuildings everywhere around here. I know there used to be one right over there because I remember the foundation of it, and that was still part of the foundation was still there when I was a kid. But this has always looked just like this all my life. It's never changed.
So he probably would have had an overseer on his plantation. So that could maybe be what that structure is there. Just throwing some theories out there. 'Cause I know, like with Billy Walker, he had a overseer that he built another house for over his plantation.
And the house over there near the cemetery across the road, Colonel Blackman's cemetery is right directly across the road from here. And over to the east of it a little ways was a house with two very nice brick chimneys that was either maybe one of Colonel Blackman's sons lived there or maybe the overseer lived there.
Right.
This almost looks like it would have been either a hearthstone or something. Maybe a hearthstone out of that chimney. That's a pecan tree, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sure enough is. I saw somebody's been maybe metal detected or just picked up some.
Yeah.
This is part of a car windshield right here.
I saw some old tires over here too.
And then this is bearings. I think might be able to piece together the car. So we got the start with the bearings. One shoe. We got the bearings and the windshield, so it's a start.
Look at those beautiful handmade brick. Look at the glaze on that one.
Oh yeah. Wow.
They always call that salt glaze, but I don't know much about the process of early brick making, but that's what they used to tell me that was salt glaze. Now remember that these brick, I wish I could find one. I remember seeing the inner hearth here. The brick were curved on the ends, where it curved into the fireplace. I don't want to dig up a snake down here though, even though it's winter time. The sun is shining.
So as far as a historic site goes, it's just in ruins. I'd say this is one of well preserved. There's a certain feeling here where you can imagine how it was more so than other places, with even the walkway up to the house still being marked. Yeah. And I can see a lot of grasses growing, and of course the daffodils too. Just a beautiful sight.
I believe if you come back in early spring, you'll probably see more evidence of flowers and maybe a rose bush or two around here. I don't know when this house was torn down or burned or whatever happened to it. I do know that the Matthews family lived here probably until the 1920s, maybe. That's beyond that. I don't know much about when it was abandoned. This chimney here never had any brickwork on it, but that one over there did. And that one appears to be larger than this one. Makes me wonder if this one is older. Maybe that one over there was rebuilt.
You see some of the mortar, I guess. Mm-hmm. You fill in the cracks on the back.
Did you look at the back side of that one?
I did not. Look at that.
Looks like someone drew something in there, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Unusual.
Yeah, it is. So this is kind of interesting back here too. I just noticed this. You can see foundation pillars coming all the way over here, and there's the remains of someone's bed right there. Hey Dan, look at this. You've got foundation stones all the way back here too, for maybe I don't know if it would be porch or, because it's kind of behind that chimney.
Like the house came all the way back to here.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking, like all the way back to there. I'm sure it was a nice old home. Yeah.
And another chimney out there.
Yeah, this is the side of the other chimney we saw. The well over there. There's a large cedar tree straight back there behind this pecan.
I never went all out in there much. I remember coming here to this. This used to be a buzzard tree.
Oh yeah.
You see the hinge on the side of the tree?
I just did. It's grown in there too.
So at some point there was a gate there.
Yeah.
Maybe going into the hog lot or the garden or something.
That's neat.
Hog lots are usually down on the creek somewhere, away from the house. So I suppose it was in this room, and one of these rooms that Colonel Blackman accidentally discharged his shotgun or rifle or whatever it was.
I hadn't even thought of it like that. That yeah, in the room of this very house. And there he is, right across the street, buried over there, and his old home place still standing here too. It's really fascinating to think of all this that's came and gone.
Maybe that's why it feels so creepy. They tell me that many years ago, the Daughters of the Confederacy placed these markers on these graves here. They're called the United Daughters of the Confederacy. It was a local group. The local chapter had these graves marked. But these soldiers here, there's 4 of them that died as a regiment was passing through here.
Gotcha.
These soldiers were either wounded or sick, and they died here where they were camped. And they buried them here. This used to be a church cemetery. The church was right up here. It's been gone a long time. But anyway, the one marker in the middle there, apparently someone stole that marker out of the Blackman Matthews Cemetery that we just went to and visited today. Someone stole that marker, and it was missing for years. And it reappeared in that ditch right there. Someone threw it off the back of a truck right there in that ditch. And the caretaker of this cemetery found it, and he had no idea where it went, where it came from, or where it belonged.
Right.
So he stood it up right there, and he told me that he had put it there. And I said, well, you know, I know where this is, that this came from, because there is a listing that someone made years ago of Talbot County cemeteries, and that was listed in the Blackman Cemetery. And I remembered it. I remembered exactly where it was, there by the brick wall. But anyway, that is Mr. Green Matthews. I don't know if you can get a shot of that.
Yeah, I can. G.B. Matthews, Company B, 62nd, it looks like.
62nd Georgia Infantry.
62nd Georgia Infantry. And so he is definitely not buried here.
No, he is not buried here. He is buried in the Blackman Matthews Cemetery in Roughedge.
That's interesting. Wind up here, or his headstone wind up here, and he's unmarked. That's pretty fascinating. The unknown Confederate soldiers, that's interesting too. Guess they didn't keep record when they died here.
No.
But there's his tombstone, and y'all saw where it belongs. Here it is.